support is the logistics of the team. The support can hold choke points especially well and can create choke points for themselves. The support can also give extra ammo to the team, saving the team tons of money in munitions cost. So let's take a look at the support's starting gear and their weapons. The support starts out with the pump shotgun, the 9mm pistol, the machete, and frag grenades. The pump shotgun weighs 5 pounds and costs $200. The pump shotgun shoots 7 pellets that do 20 damage each, making for 140 damage total. And the pump shotgun can do 180 damage per second. Overall, the pump shotgun is a decent enough weapon. It does a high amount of damage, but its slow rate of fire and slow reload can cause problems very quickly. The frag grenades do 200 damage on explosion and then fire 10 pieces of shrapnel around the room, doing 50 damage each. The frag grenades are great for throwing in tight checkpoints and where there's a lot of small enemies to where you can shred them easily. The 9mm pistol and the machete aren't the most helpful for the support, as you don't get any sort of bonus damage with them, so they're just fallbacks if you run out of ammo with your shotguns. You can use the 9mm pistol and the machete to some effect during the early stages, but after that you cannot use these weapons as effectively as other classes can. So the first weapon we're going to be looking at is the nail gun. The nail gun weighs 6 pounds and costs $600. It fires 7 nails in its shotgun mode, each of which doing 30 damage for a combined total of 210 damage. The nail gun also does 525 damage per second in shotgun mode. You can also switch it to its single fire mode to save ammo. Overall, the nail gun is actually quite strong, with having high damage and the handy ability of having nails bounce off of surfaces and hopefully hit other enemies. The nail gun is also incredibly cheap and probably the most cost-effective weapon for the support, as buying nails is extremely cheap. The second weapon you can purchase is the double barrel shotgun. The double barrel shotgun weighs 4 pounds and costs $650. The double barrel shotgun shoots 12 pellets, doing 25 damage with each pellet, for a total of 300 damage. The double barrel shotgun can also fire both barrels at the same time if you choose to do so. And the double barrel shotgun can do about 1200 damage per second. The double barrel shotgun also has a unique secondary feature, where if you aim it at your feet or just in front of you and fire both barrels, you'll be pushed in whichever direction that you're aiming. You can use this to get out of tight situations, for example over railings and away from other Zeds that might be trying to get you. The double barrel shotgun is probably my favorite of the support weapons, as it does massive damage to pretty much everything, and it's one of the most cost-effective weapons in the game, as well as its weight can fit most arsenals, even that aren't the support. The next weapon we're going to be looking at is the trench shotgun. The trench shotgun weighs 5 pounds and costs $650. The trench gun fires 9 pellets, each of which do 27 damage, for a total of 243 damage, making the trench gun have 348 damage per second. The trench gun's pellets also count as fire damage. For each pellet hit, you do an additional 25 damage, and the fire lasts for 2.7 seconds, doing 18.5 damage. The trench gun is also a really nice gun that I like, although it does have a slow rate of fire and a slow reload, but it does manage to have massive damage, as well as the fire. Not only the damage can be useful, but when you light Zeds on fire, they can tend to panic, making it easier for you to kill them, or causing them to be less of a threat towards you for a short amount of time. Next to the support weapons is the HZ-12. The HZ-12 weighs 5 pounds and costs $750. It shoots 10 pellets that do 20 damage each, making for a total of 200 damage. The HZ-12 can do the most amount of damage per second out of any of the shotguns, doing 2,000 damage per second, theoretically. The HZ-12 is an extremely strong gun, but with its odd rate of fire, it does take a little bit getting used to, as well as it has a lot of recoil, making its high damage per second not as reliable as it would seem. Overall though, the HZ-12 does good damage, doesn't cost that much, weighs a decent amount, and holds quite a few shots. The next weapon is the M4 shotgun. The M4 shotgun weighs 7 pounds and costs $1,100. The M4 shotgun fires 7 pellets, doing 30 damage each, for a total of 210 damage. The M4 can do 931 damage per second. The M4 is all around a pretty solid shotgun. The main problem I have with the M4 is that it does not seem as good as the nail gun, costing nearly half as much and weighing a pound less, as well as the nail gun can match it in damage per shot. On the upside though, the M4 can do a lot of damage per second and is pretty useful in certain situations. The next weapon we're going to be looking at is the HM Tech 301 Medic Shotgun. The Medic Shotgun weighs 6 pounds and costs $1,100. It fires 6 pellets that do 20 damage each, making for a total of 120 damage per shot. The Medic Shotgun can do 600 damage per second, as well as its alternative healing fire can heal 15 hit points if you hit an ally, or deal 33 damage per second for 5 seconds against enemies. Overall, the Medic Shotgun does lack damage compared to all of the other shotguns, but it does provide a lot of utility, being able to heal the team, and its fast rate of fire does make it somewhat good at bursting enemies. The final weapon we're going to be looking at is the AA-12. The AA-12 weighs 10 pounds and costs $1,500. It fires 7 pellets, each of which do 20 damage, making for 140 damage total, and the AA-12 can do 700 damage per second. That includes both full auto and semi-auto mode. Overall, the AA-12 is extremely impressive with its huge magazine and its fast rate of fire, as well as its tight grouping with its spread. The AA-12 is probably one of the strongest weapons for holding points and clearing out trash enemies quickly, as well as being able to deal with very large Zeds without any trouble at all. Alright, now on to the support perks. The support gets extra welding proficiency, 3% per level up to 75%, meaning that you will weld doors faster. The support gets bonus shotgun damage, 1% per level up to 25%. Bonus shotgun penetration, 20% per level up to 500%. Extra ammo, 1% per level up to 25%. Extra strength, gaining 1 pound per 5 levels up to 5 pounds, as well as the unique ability to have an ammo backpack, which will provide anybody on your team who grabs it from you 1 full clip of ammo for each of their weapons. And then the last ability being the door repair. You can fix broken doors as the support. So now that we've looked at the passive perks and the weapons of the support, we're going to be taking a look at the support builds and loadouts. The first support build is pretty much the standard build. At level 5, you get your choices between high capacity magazines or tactical reload, and honestly both of these perks are extremely useful, and mostly up to personal preference as to which one you enjoy more. Having the 50% larger magazine size can really help with certain weapons like the AA-12, the M4, and the support shotgun, but the tactical reload can really help with weapons like the double barrel and the trench gun. Ultimately, this is up to your choice. I personally go with tactical reload because I like it a little bit more, but high capacity magazines I can completely see somebody taking over it. At level 10, you get your choice between fortitude or sallow. Sallow seems to be the most common one taken here, giving you bonus damage, which gives you more clearing ability for smaller Zeds and much more damage against the larger Zeds. At 15, you get your choice between armor-piercing rounds and tight choke. The standard build is to go with tight choke, as it will give you more reliable damage against larger targets at a distance, as well as deal with smaller Zeds just fine. At 20, you have your choices between resupply pack and concussion rounds. Resupply pack is taken more often, as it gives much more value to your team and allows them to save up money much faster without having to worry about armor as much. And then at 25, you have your choice between Penetrator and Barrage. Barrage seems much better than Penetrator. Penetrator can only really be used in certain areas on certain maps, generally where you have a choke point where all the enemies funnel towards you. Barrage can really be used anywhere on any map, giving you an extreme amount of damage per second, especially with weapons like the AA-12, the HZ-12, or the M4. The second build is going more for damage as a support. Again, you can choose between high capacity magazines or tactical reload, it's your choice. Sallow for the bonus damage, tighter choke for more damage against larger enemies, concussion rounds to help stumble larger enemies, and then barrage to deal more damage. Ultimately, this build functions the same as the first build, but you get a little bit more control over enemies with concussion rounds for the cost of not giving your team as much value. With this build, you can switch to resupply pack in the middle of rounds though, to give your team that extra armor, and then switch back to concussion rounds before the round starts. And then the final build we have here is somewhat of a pseudo tank build. Once again, at level 5, you can pick between high capacity magazines or tactical reload. At 10, you go with fortitude to give you that bonus health. At 15, you go with armor-piercing rounds or tight choke, depending on what your play style is. If you wish to funnel enemies more into a choke point, then armor-piercing rounds may help you out more than the tight choke. At 20, you go resupply pack, just for the value to the team. And at 25, you go with barrage, again just to give you more damage per second. So now that we've looked at some builds, let's look at some loadouts. The first loadout is one of the more common loadouts, going with the AA-12 to deal with any of the trash Zeds, medium Zeds, or even large Zeds, going with the double barrel to deal with larger and medium Zeds, and then the medic shotgun for utility as well as dealing with any of the smaller Zeds. The second loadout is similar to the first, but involves going with the AA-12 to deal damage to everything, the double barrel for larger enemies, the HZ-12 or the trench gun for additional damage, and then the medic pistol for added utility. The third loadout isn't as common, but I have seen it, going with the AA-12 as your general purpose weapon, going with the M4 for larger enemies and to fall back on when your AA-12 runs out of ammo, and then your choice between weapons, picking either the medic pistol for added utility, C4 for added damage, the katana for added defense, or the 500 pistol for more sustained damage. And then the final loadout we got here is the cheaper build. You can get this build much faster than the other ones. Going with the AA-12, again for general purpose, the double barrel, and the nail gun. This will allow you to get your loadout much faster than any of the other loadouts. And then finally, I just like to say that you can really go with anything with the support as a loadout. Because of their massive amount of weight that they can carry, they can go with a lot of different things. I've even seen supports go with the AA-12, the rocket launcher, and a medic pistol just to have it. So now that we've looked at some builds and some loadouts, here are some support tips. The first tip is that you can use the double barrel to get away from a tight situation. Either aim it at your feet or just jump in the air and fire it with both barrels. The second tip is weld doors for your team. Now be sure not to lock your team into a bad situation or limit your escapes. Welding doors can really help on certain maps to create funnel points to where it becomes much more manageable for the team to actively defend. The third tip is that you can switch your perks in between rounds. This mostly goes for the resupply pack and for the high capacity magazines if you'd like to keep them. If you'd like to use the other perks, simply switch to the high capacity magazines and reload all your weapons in between rounds and then switch back to tactical reload, or switch to resupply packs so that your team can grab their bonus armor and then switch back to concussion rounds so that you can better control Zeds with stumbling. The fourth tip is crouch to reduce recoil. This can really help keeping your shotguns on target, as the shotguns do tend to have quite a bit of recoil, and crouching will reduce that recoil so that you can be more accurate with them. This tip will be most used on maps that you can weld doors to create funnel points, where you can just kind of sit there and fire without having to worry about things sneaking up on you. And then the final tip for the support is stay close to your team. You are essential to the team, both clearing small and medium as well as large Zeds without much trouble, and constantly giving them ammo. The longer the match goes, the more ammo that they can get from you. So overall, the support is a very strong class that doesn't really have problems with any Zed type, whether that be small, medium, or large, with their only somewhat problem being with husks, as husks can simply outrange them. On certain maps that's no problem, as the husks still have to get close, but everything from clots to flesh pounds don't really stand much of a chance against a skilled support. One thing I have noticed though is that the support does somewhat struggle against most of the boss enemies, and I don't find it uncommon, at least at the higher levels, for people to switch from support to a class that's better suited for fighting the boss. Although this can also apply to other classes like the Commando. Just like any of the other classes, I wouldn't recommend having more than 2 of them in any game, as after 2, your team really doesn't get as much value out of the supply packs. So, this was my guide on the support. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope to see all of you guys next time when we talk about the Field Medic. Until then, stay cool, and bye.